Hello, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Woo! Yeah, let's go. I'm just gonna be talking about, I guess, an experience that I had back in like 2020-ish, 2021-ish, more 2020-ish. Okay, so like this was like back when I was in the infancy of like, doing content, but just like on Snapchat. Basically just like, there's like anonymous messaging apps, like I forgot, like I forgot what it's called, but it'll be somewhere on the screen. But like, yeah, I used to use those anonymous messaging apps to get like people to ask questions, and I post on my story, basically explaining stuff and whatever. And then like it started to get a lot into like kind of, racism and stuff, because 2020 was a big year in terms of, a lot of things to do with race. I think we all know. Yeah, so then I basically would start like posting, I guess, stuff about that, a lot of stuff about like racism and like standing up for myself and stuff like that. And it did come with a bit of backlash. Like, I remember this one time, I think I literally just asked the question like, oh, is being Jewish, is that like a religion or like an ethnicity? Because I was not very sure, and people took it as racist. I don't know if it was my wording at the time, but like I'm pretty sure I literally just asked like, is it that or whatever, because like you could be born Jewish or you can like go into the religion. So yeah, that was like a bit of like an off thing that happened. But yeah, like on Snapchat I deleted that account because it got a bit too much. But yeah, that whole like experience, like I would be like talking about, like my experience of racism and talking about racism. People just would be ignorant, wouldn't listen, would say their own stuff and would be like, no, it didn't happen. Basically just like a lot of people like rejecting, not willing to learn about racism, not willing to learn, and put the time in to like decolonize themselves and like, kind of step back and look at stuff with like a critical eye and be like, okay, that makes sense. They weren't willing to do that like at all. So yeah, that sucked quite a bit. And there was this one major incident, and I feel like this kind of like pushed and radicalized me into like making more content about racism and stuff about that, and eventually like learning about, intersectionality and how, basically learn a lot more about how other types of people are oppressed, like, trans people, and just like learning a lot more than just racism. So I used to have these friends back in like year 11, and one time they kind of like just all sent me like this same video. It was like 4 of them must have been sent all like the same video, and I was like, oh, maybe it's just like a little group thing or whatever. I like opened it, and they were like, it was this like video of black people chanting, kill white people, kill white people, and like my friends were using that as like kind of a crutch to be like, hey, racism does happen towards white people, like, God, why are you always speaking about this when like clearly it does? I was like, why are they sending this to me as if I'm just suddenly gonna change my mind and be like, yeah, to be racist towards white people, look at that, me, my racism doesn't matter, who cares about that? Like, I just thought to myself, and like, that's insanity that they're sending this to me out of everything that I've posted so far and like what I've said about my experience of racism. They just want to go around and send me that as if like that happened to them, which it didn't, and as if not, how many years of oppression from black people, and like how there might be some prejudice towards white people, but like it can never be at the level of systemic racism that like black people have faced. And I was just like, I got so angry. I went downstairs, I was like storming, like complaining to like my siblings and my parents. I was like, it just angered me, and like I feel like that was like a massive kick in the butt to me, to be like, I'm gonna try and do better, just not for like learning about my history and what's happened to me, but like, learn about other people's oppression and plight. And then eventually made me to making this YouTube channel, which is, kind of nice. But yeah, I don't really know what that was, but just I guess my experience on the early days of me doing like a lot of racism work on like Snapchat, and like how also bloody anonymous messaging is so weird. Like even now when I see it nowadays, I'm like ill, because like people can say the most deranged stuff, like the most H word stuff, okay, like absolutely crazy. And yeah, still to this day I don't really trust them, like the apps. And Edison Joel here. I've shaved off my head. Yes. But yeah, I don't really think I've said enough of how much of an impact talking about racism on Snapchat had on me, and even on like Instagram as well. Like, it would get to the point like where I would be scared to open up my phone if someone that I didn't really talk to sent me a message. Like, I would have butterflies in my stomach, and like my chest would be beating, and I had to take multiple mental health breaks for both from Snapchat, Instagram, social media, TikTok, because like things would just get too much, and like I would just start to spiral and like be really depressed. So I would have to take breaks. I lost so many friends. I felt all alone, apart from one friend, shout out Eleanor. But like, yeah, it was just such a lonely experience, just trying to educate people and like answer people's questions, and just being shut down again and again. And yeah, like I suffered a lot from doing that, and even to like this day I'm still like suffering from the consequences. So like, I know in that video I'm kind of like laughing off a lot of things, but like being deadly serious, it was such a bad time, like insanely bad. Having to lose that amount of friends and just having to pick yourself back up is, I don't think most people could do that, to be honest. Yeah, that kind of is what, like, those situations are kind of what, like, that's what kind of pushed me to make content, like, exploring, you know, intersectionality, like, basically all the different forms of oppression that people can face, and making social issues content. That was, like, the main push, that kind of, like, period of time. So, yeah, that has been my YouTube video, and I will see you in my next video. Peace.